A very good morning, dear students. Let's move ahead with the next problem on estimation of working capital. In the previous two videos, we have seen two problems where all the data was directly been given to us and we calculated the working capital. As discussed in this problem, they have given a cost sheet, and on the basis of those cost sheet and other details, we have to estimate the working capital. So let's understand how do we estimate working capital when a cost sheet is given or cost structure is given. So let's go to the problem. From the following cost structure, estimate working capital. So what is given? Elements of cost is given and cost per unit is given. What are the elements of cost? Raw material is 70 rupees per unit, labor is 40 rupees per unit, overheads is 60 rupees per unit. Then total cost is given 170 rupees, profit is 30 rupees per unit, and the selling price is 200 rupees per unit. So this is the basic cost structure given to us. Next, they have given other information like raw material is in stock for 4 weeks, material are in process for 2 weeks, that means it is related to work in process or semi-finished goods, and finished goods is in stock for 4 weeks. Credit allowed by suppliers is 4 weeks. So suppliers means they are creditors, they are the people from whom we have purchased goods on credit. So suppliers means creditors. So creditors allow us 4 weeks credit. Credit allowed to debtors, that means the customers, debtors is 8 weeks. Delay in payment of wages is 1.5 weeks. Delay in payments of overheads is 4 weeks. Then other things given to us is 1/4 of the output is sold against cash. Now this point is very important. 1/4 of the output is sold against cash means all these sales, whatever is the sales, the total sales is not credit sales. Out of that, 1/4 is cash sales, 3/4 is credit sales. So debtors are related to only 3/4 because 1/4 is cash sales. Next, cash in hand is expected to be 20,000. Then prepare statement of working capital if the level of activity is 50,000 units. So these are the details given to us. From these details, we have to estimate working capital. So let's understand how do we go about this particular problem. The first thing that we have to do is we have to convert these cost per units which are given to us. These cost per units which are given, we have to convert them into total cost. Now how do we convert them into total cost? We have to multiply the raw material price per unit, that is 70 rupees per unit, with the total number of units produced. So total number of units produced is given to us, that is 50,000. So 50,000 into 70 will give us total cost of raw materials. In the similar way, find out the total labor cost, that is 40 per unit into 50,000 units produced. So 40 into 50 is 20 lakhs. Overheads 60 per unit into 50,000. So 60 into 50,000 is 30 lakhs. The total cost would be 85 lakhs. So first thing that we have to do is convert the cost per units into total cost. Now once we do that, then we have to go for the statement as asked in the question. Prepare statement of working capital. So let's go to the statement. So statement is particulars rupees. As we have seen, working capital is nothing but current assets minus current liabilities, right? So first take the current assets. Under current assets, we have first raw material given to us. Raw material is always valued at the raw material cost. So what is the raw material cost? It is 35 lakhs. Okay, so 35 lakhs, and the raw material is in stock for 4 weeks. So 35 lakhs into 4 divided by 52. Okay, the same concept that we have used in the previous problem. That is, total is 35 lakhs. But do we want 35 lakhs? No, we just want it for 4 weeks. So what is the total number of weeks in a year? It is 52. So for 52 weeks it is 35 lakhs, then for 4 weeks it would be how much? So it is 35 lakhs into 4 divided by 52. So that is how the calculation goes. So 35 lakhs into 4 divided by 52 gives you 2,69,231. So the working capital required for raw material is 2,69,231. Then coming to work in progress. This part is a bit of confusing, but try to understand it. Now work in process means you are utilizing raw material, you are utilizing labor, as well as you are utilizing the overheads. That means all the three elements of cost would be involved. All the three elements of cost would be involved to calculate work in process. But work in process means it is not completed. It is still incomplete, semi-finished. So we cannot consider the whole part of all the three elements. So how do you go about the calculation? Always remember, when it is just mentioned that material are in process for 2 weeks and they have not given how much percentage of material is in process, in such situation we have to consider raw material 100%, labor 50% and overheads 50. Because it is semi-finished, so raw material consumed would be full, because when you are processing the material, the entire material has to be considered, whereas labor overhead would be 50% because it's not completed yet. Only 50% of labor and overheads are being utilized. So calculation of work in process would be, it consider all the three elements, that is raw material, labor and overheads. But if nothing is mentioned, then raw material would be 100%, labor would be 50% and overheads would be 50%. This is the basic criteria. Then let's go for the calculation. So raw material is 35 lakhs into work is in process for 2 weeks. So 35 lakhs into 2 divided by 52 into 100%. I have already said raw material would be 100%. So 35 lakhs into 2 divided by 52 into 100% gives you 1,34,615. Then labor is 2 lakhs total cost into 2 divided by 52 into 50%. As discussed, we have to consider 50% of labor and 50% of overheads. So 20 lakhs into 2 divided by 52 into 50% gives you 38,461. Next is overheads. The total cost of overheads is 30 lakhs into the work is in process for 2 weeks. So 30 lakhs into 2 divided by 52 into again 50%. Why 50%? As discussed, raw material would be 100%, labor would be 50% and overheads would be 50%. So 30 lakhs into 2 divided by 52 into 50% gives us 57,692. Then what is the total work in progress? It is the sum of this, that is 1,34,615 plus 38,461 plus 57,692. Total comes to 2,30,768. So 2,30,768 is the working capital required for work in process or work in progress, or also called as semi-finished goods. Next current asset is finished goods. Now how do we evaluate finished goods? Finished goods is evaluated at total cost, that is all the three together 100%. So we consider directly the total cost. I hope you're clear with how do we get this total cost. It is raw material, labor plus overhead, that is 35 lakhs plus 20 lakhs plus 30 lakhs gives you 85 lakhs. So finished goods is 85 lakhs into 4 divided by 52. Why 4? Because finished goods are in stock for 4 weeks. So 85 lakhs into 4 divided by 52 gives us 6,53,846. I hope you're clear with the calculation of finished goods, where we have to consider the total cost, that is 85 lakhs. Debtors, next is debtors. Debtors also we have to consider the total cost, but here the question is how much of the total cost? Should we take 100% of the total cost or a part of the total cost? Now that depends on this particular statement. Okay, so debtors is 85 lakhs into debtors, credit allowed to debtors is 8 weeks. So into 8 divided by 52 into this is very important, 3 by 4. Now why 3 by 4 is because this entire total cost is not sold for on credit. Out of this total, 1/4 is sold for cash. So when 1/4 is sold for cash, you do not require working capital for that because you are directly getting cash. Whereas remaining 3/4 is sold on credit. So 3/4 is credit. So when you say 3/4 is credit, that those many debtors are there. So how many would be your debtors? Only 3/4. I hope you are understanding this. So it is 85 lakhs into 8 divided by 52, that is the credit allowed to debtors is 8 weeks. So 8 divided by 52 into 3/4, because 1/4 of the output is sold against cash. So remaining is 3/4. So 85 lakhs into 8 divided by 52 into 3/4 is equal to 9,80,769. Then the next current asset given to us is cash. They have directly mentioned cash is expected to be 20,000. So directly we have to consider cash as 20,000 rupees. Apart from this, there are no other current assets. So we have raw material, work in progress, finished goods, debtors and cash in hand. So once we take all the current assets, we have to take the total of this. That is 2,69,231 plus 2,30,768 plus 6,53,846 plus 9,80,769 plus 20,000 gives us 21,54,614. So your gross working capital is 21,54,614. So once we consider the gross working capital, or once we calculate the gross working capital, the next step is calculating the current liabilities, because we have to deduct the current liabilities. So less current liabilities. Now which are the current liabilities? We have first one, credit allowed by suppliers. Suppliers means your creditors. So credit allowed by suppliers is 4 weeks. Now what do they supply? Supply raw material. So creditors are always calculated on the basis of only raw materials. Okay, so creditors, we consider only the raw material cost. The raw material cost is 35 lakhs into, they allow 4 weeks credit. So into 4 divided by 52. So 35 lakhs into 4 divided by 52 gives us 2,69,231. Second, delay in payment of wages. That means we have outstanding wages. Now, to whom do we pay wages? We pay wages only to the laborers. So wages are calculated on the basis of labor only. So labor is 20 lakhs total into how much delay? It is 1.5 weeks. So 20 lakhs into 1.5 divided by 52 gives us 57,692. I hope you are clear with these two concepts of creditors and outstanding wages. Similarly, we have outstanding overheads. Now it clearly says it is overheads. So we have to consider only the overhead cost. Now what is the overhead cost? It is 30 lakhs. Total overhead cost is 30 lakhs into the delay in payment of overheads is 4 weeks. So 30 lakhs into 4 divided by 52 is 2,30,769. So this is how we calculate creditors, wages and overheads. I'll just repeat. Creditors are always calculated on the basis of raw material. Wages are calculated on the basis of labor, and overheads are calculated on the basis of overhead cost itself. So once we calculate the creditors, wages, outstanding wages and outstanding overheads, you have to deduct it from gross working capital. So 21,54,614 minus 2,69,231 minus 57,692 minus 2,30,769 gives us 15,96,923. So this 15,96,923 becomes your net working capital. Now, if you remember in the previous problem, after calculating the net working capital, we used to have something called as contingencies. So 10% contingencies, 15% contingencies and so on. But in this problem, if you see the entire question, they have not mentioned anything about contingencies. So we cannot consider it. So add contingencies is nil. We do not have any contingencies. So net working capital, whatever is the net working capital, we add nil. So whatever is your net working capital becomes your estimated working capital. So your estimated working capital is 15,96,923. So this is how we calculate working capital when cost structure or cost sheet is given. I'll repeat some points. Like raw material is always valued at raw material cost. The working capital for raw material is always valued at raw material cost only. Work in process, we consider all the three elements, that is raw material, labor as well as overheads. But raw material is considered at 100%, labor at 50%, overheads at 50%. Now one more point that you need to understand is, in this problem they had not mentioned anything about how much work is in progress. But in some examples, in some questions they may say 40% of the work is in process. Right? That means when 40% of the work is in process, that means we have to consider raw material at 100% itself, but labor and overhead should be 40%. If nothing is given, it would be 50%, but if the percentage is given, that same percentage has to be assumed over here. Please make a note of that. Okay. So then is finished goods. Finished goods is valued at total cost itself. Debtors are also valued at total cost, but only the credit sales is considered. That means the cash sales is removed. So 1/4 in this particular problem, 1/4 was sold against cash. So we considered only 3/4. Then cash in hand was given to us directly. So we considered it. Next one was creditors. It has to be calculated only on raw materials, wages only on labors, and overheads only on overheads. So this is how we calculate or we estimate working capital when a cost structure or cost sheet is given. I hope you're clear with this concept of estimation of working capital when cost sheet is given. Thank you. Have a happy learning.